Today I'm going to talk about Christmas drinking because Christmas drinking is fun. I shouldn't say that. Drink responsibly, everybody. I like drinks and foods with sort of stories behind them, and I realise I've been doing this a lot probably since I was a little kid, because the first thing we've got here is my trusty friend's cookbook that I've had since I was a teenager, and I made eggnog when I was a teenager. Look at the marks on this. This is the ghosts of eggnog past, where it's all sort of splattered about. Now, people don't really like the idea of eggnog because they think, raw egg and all these various things. Eggnog is really nice. I haven't made it for a few years actually because nobody in the family bar me and my dad were drinking it. I suppose I could have just made less. But eggnog is quite nice. It's best described, I think, as a kind of non-chocolatey Baileys. And I know what you're probably thinking, if someone took the chocolate out of Baileys, it's kind of, you know, what's the point? But you should try it at least once. Obviously you probably want to get a hold of the friend's cookbook, but there will be a recipe online. I shall find one, I shall put it down in the link. Now, the second drink we're going to get on to is something I haven't actually made yet. I've always wanted to make something called lemon posset. It's a kind of a Regency thing. They used it in Victorian times as well. I was looking for it online, and this lady actually, as kind of demonstrating the history of it, she uses a quote from Macbeth, because posset was actually used as a kind of, it was a base for medicinal purposes. I'm going to quote you from Macbeth, Act 2, Scene 2. I think it's probably when he's paranoid and out to kill someone. That usually happens in a lot of Macbeth. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. And it's kind of like a creamy, it's like eggnog again, it's sort of a cream and milk based thing, and they put spices in it. They usually made lemon posset. If you go into some nice restaurants these days, you will find lemon or lime posset, and they put gelatin in it and they make it like a little dessert. But that's something I'm going to try this year. Next thing, and this is another one of those things that tastes, this can seem quite gross. It's another one of the creamy varieties of Christmas alcoholic drinks. It's something called butterbeer. Well, it's not really a Christmas drink. Lots of people know butterbeer because they drink it in Harry Potter. And I was really eager to try it. And we went on the Harry Potter tour for my birthday, and they gave us something there, or we had to buy it. It was quite expensive, and it tasted like, the only way to describe it was like Diet Coke that someone had added a lot of sugar to and then piped marshmallowy stuff on top, and that's basically what it was. That is not what butterbeer is. Butterbeer is a Tudor recipe, and you can make it today with something like Bishop's Finger Ale, and you add butter to it. I know that sounds a bit dodgy, but it's not so bad, and you put spices and things in it. It's quite nice once you've... By the way, they say you can chill it. Don't chill it, because you will end up with a butter crust on top of it, and it's really nasty. But yeah, if you do the butterbeer recipe, I've done a blog about it, I'll put it down below in the thingy. If you want to try doing it, and you're only going to make it that once, I would suggest you use half as much butter and half as many cloves. Half as many ground cloves, that is, because it is very oily and very strong otherwise. You could add more ginger and cinnamon, but remember those spices, they don't dissolve, so you will end up with like gritty stuff, so don't go overboard. Butter is quite nice. And now we move on to more nicer things. Nice, non-eggy, milky alcoholic drinks, which I know people are more fan of. Anyway. Next thing is mulled wine and mulled cider. Now I don't stick to a recipe usually. I'm a kind of a, here's some wine and I think I know what goes in it. So I heat up red wine, I put in orange juice and brandy, and I throw in, you can get these from the supermarket. Schwartz make these like little tea bag things, and they've got all the spices in them, so you don't end up with all that grittiness. You see, like tea bags. And you throw some orange and stuff in the mulled wine. But I started doing that with cider as well, to mulled cider, but I started to realise the better mulled cider I've had has been, it's got something else to it, and it's basically a sugar syrup. And I've never tasted that though with mulled, like gone out to a pub and had mulled wine like that. Mulled wine usually is something watery that tastes like fruit gums, so my mulled wine always tastes better by comparison. But it was when I started having this mulled cider out, I realised that that sugar syrup really does make the difference. And I've been looking at a lot of recipes online. I've been looking at Jamie Oliver's recipe because you can trust Jamie. He just has that way about him. And it does seem like sugar syrup is the way to go, so I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do it properly. But luckily I found my parents brought this back for me from Blenheim Palace, and it's actually a mulling syrup, the Butler's mulling syrup, to cash in on people who like Downton. And this actually is like a sugar syrup. There's a cinnamon stick in here, that's not a twig. And so I could probably just use that. You probably won't have this, you'll have to do it the proper way. Or you could just get a bottle of red wine. Don't get too cheap of stuff, you know, try and spend at least £3.50 on a bottle. You don't want to get a bad stomach. And you can just get the Schwartz tea bags and put them in. Next thing, this is another thing I haven't made, along with the lemon posset, so I probably shouldn't be endorsing it to you, but I think it's pretty cool. I got this book recently, doing Mr. Darcy, on the basis that it had this recipe in it. You might have heard of something called Negus. They have it a lot. They actually have lemon posset as well in Austen books. And this is a kind of, I always thought it was a mulled wine, but it's actually a mulled port. And they talk about here how it's served at Mansfield Park and all this, that and the other. They also talk about how it used to be served at children's parties in Victorian times. And there's a piece here from Mrs. Beeton's Book of Household Management. As this beverage is more usually drunk at children's parties than at any other, the wine need not be very old or expensive for the purpose. A new fruity wine answering very well for it. So, you know, give your kids alcohol and give them the cheap shit as well. And give them all terrible hangovers. You have to wonder whether, when they talk about hyperactive kids now, because everyone thinks that kids are hyperactive because they've had too much sugar at parties, it's not that. It's someone who's lived through the time of, you know, having Negus and modern, you know, the sugar rush of like the 1960s. Someone who lived that age, and there was a group of people who were like, oh my god, kids are so hyperactive now. The kids weren't getting hyperactive. The kids were just not drunk anymore. I love the idea of a drunk kids party. I love you. I love you. You're my best friend in playgroup. And we'll love each other forever and ever. Okay, the last drink I'm going to talk about is something called Quarante Quatre, which is 44 in my appalling French accent. This is the one I'm making at the moment. What you do is you take an orange and you stab it 44 times. You put 44 coffee beans in the orange, you stick it in a jar, you cover it with 44 teaspoons of sugar, and then you cover it all with alcohol, vodka. It's the most important part. And you shake it for 44 days, well, every day for 44 days. And it's kind of addictive. This is about, I think this is about like 15 days in, and you can see the vodka has dissolved the sugar because alcohol is a solvent, and made this kind of nice syrupy thing. I don't know what that tastes like yet, because this is the first time I have tried making it, so I don't know why I'm endorsing it to you, but damn it, doesn't it look like fun? If nothing, you'll have fun for 44 days, and then you'll be so annoyed when it comes out, you'll just drink anything to make yourself feel better. And that is the last of my Christmas drinking recipes. I'm going to have to pace it through December to make sure my family don't get annoyed with me, because I suppose I could just make these things for myself and drink them myself, but it's no fun unless you're inflicting all this stuff on somebody. Usually the family just walk through the kitchen and go, God, what is that smell? Now, I know it's weird that I've kind of done this in November because Christmas is sort of still far away, but the fact is there's so many like cookery programs and that just on before Christmas, and by then you've sort of planned everything. So I thought if I did it now, it might just kind of inspire you with some ideas. I suppose in a proper video, someone would actually make all these things and edit it together and show you how to make them. And if I did make it all, I would end up very out of pocket and very, very, very drunk. There is going to be, speaking of shows that are going to be on close to Christmas, Alexander Armstrong and Giles Corran are actually doing a show about drinks we have over Christmas. So that'll probably be on December time. If I find an air date for it, I'm going to stick it down in the doobly-doo. So that's it. I hope I have inspired you to try and make something, because it is no fun just having like caffeine-free, diet-free Pepsi with some rum in it, because then it just sounds like you want to get drunk. At least with all these sorts of recipes, they've got stories to them, and it's an experience, and you're trying something new, and it's something to talk about, and you know, demand a bit more from your Christmas drinking. Don't just drink for the sake of it. Make things and drink them for the fun and the experience, and yes, and I hope I've given you something important to think about.